Thank you, Yaroslav, fellow Toastmasters guests. Now, Tim, I know you are an engineer, but that does not mean that you have good judgment. Allow me to tell a story about how, Tim, you were fishing out in Canada with your wife and kids, and you were pulled over for going very slow, and all the other cars were passing you. The RCMP pulled you over and said, you asked him what the problem was. He said, well, you're going too slow. Of course, Tim, you really didn't understand why he's pulling you over, not all of them over, because they're going so fast. Well, it was then that you learned that the speed limit was 90 kilometers an hour. You were driving 45 kilometers an hour, and you were driving on Highway 45. It was then that the cops noticed that your wife and kids were in great distress. And when you realized your error, Tim, you pointed out to the cop, well, I guess maybe that's because I just pulled off the Highway 175. Now, Tim, I have to thank you for all the times you invited me up to your log cabin. I'll make it up there eventually. No, I did make it up there twice to your $150,000 cabin with no running water and no plumbing. You know all about what that's like, Jackie. So, I remember when you yelled at me for not in the middle of the night when I would not venture out beyond the steps to take care of my, to water the weeds. See, I didn't want to venture out into the weeds and grass because I didn't want to get my feet wet. You never know how far out all of your other guests were going to venture out. I should say, actually there was a toilet, a two-seater brand, outdoor style, and at least it was about a half-mile away, or it seemed like half a mile, depending on the motivation. In regard to the wet grass, I know I suggested that you put a rope out there, but as it turned out, the rope was already used to deter your guests from falling off the loft. Oh, by the way, the loft did not have a railing. And so we all slept up there. You did provide us flashlights on our nightstand, but I didn't think that was enough to deter him. I insisted that you put a light on the bottom so we could at least see the edge of the loft. The next time, it was, but all of you don't have to worry because, as you know, Tim, your dog Norm, he sleeps on the side of the bed next to the loft. And I learned that your dog had fallen off, rolled over in its sleep, fallen off the loft and hit the landing 8 feet below. Luckily, it didn't go all the way to the 9 feet where the floor was. So the next time when we came up there, of course, there was a railing. It's nice to know that you think value your pets more than your relatives. So I can't help it. And also, by the way, there is an ice cream bucket out on the deck because the ladies' guests didn't care to get their feet wet either. So Tim, I'd like to conclude this with my final remembrance of you. It was one weekend. I had to make a presentation at a seminar, and I left my son Jason, who was just 1 year old, with you for the weekend. And I also left you a box of Pampers. I returned very excited to see my son after 2 days, only to find him with his Pampers loaded, hanging all the way down to his knees. I said, Tim, what's going on? Why haven't you changed them? Then you pointed out on the box that the box said, good for 20 to 24 pounds. So Tim, happy 50th, and I hope you live to enjoy another 50 years in your log cabin. Mr. Postmaster.